What did you think about the running back rotation? Week number 1 in the preseason, they had nowhere to go. There was a couple of better situations. This game, not certainly not where you want it to be, but there were some running backs out there making plays, and even Clyde there in the last portion of the game made a couple of nice catches, made some runs. He's hitting people on the sideline, getting upfield, getting kind of fired up there. Like, where do you have the running back battles right now?
I feel like I comfortably have my 4. Like, I think it's Alvin, Kendre, Clyde, and Bayless, and it seems like they want Cam. Like, they're giving Cam Akers, the higher reps now. But like he had a bad snap and pass pro, and I feel like Clyde just like keeps getting better at that as his camp goes on. And it's not something that's always been like a strength of his game, but like you can tell he's really working at it, and it seems like he's picking stuff up really well. Cam Akers had like a real good practice against the Rams. Maybe one of the only guys coming out of there that I felt like great about how he played that day. But I just feel like Clyde's making more plays there, and I think that's where they need like help. Like, that hasn't been a big strength of Alvin's game. Obviously, it's not something that Kendre does well, not yet at least. I haven't seen anything from Bayless to suggest that he could do it, but I want him on the team. Just like he just looks so explosive every time he touches the ball. It looks like somebody that could be like a home run hitter, and that's just like another element of speed you can get on the field with all these other guys that are just like straight up burners. One of those guys gets a little bit of space, like there's home run potential. I like him in that role. With Devin Neal, he's just kind of out of sight, out of mind right now. Eventually, he probably finds his way on there somewhere. And, maybe Clyde's the guy that you initially cut and put on the practice squad and use as an elevation early in the season and then sign him or something. But there's different ways around it. But, I'm taking Clyde ahead of Cam Akers right now. I just feel I would just feel more confident with him standing next to, Rattler, Shuck Rattler on third down than any of those other guys.
All right, how about our guy, Mason Tipton? Has he, solidified himself on this roster?
I think you got to keep him.
I do too.
If you cut him, someone's taking him. I mean, that's usually what the math ends up being. And a lot of times, I think when you're too close to a team, you end up overrating people. You're like, oh, they can't cut like Fadil Diggs. Someone's going to claim him. And then Fadil Diggs gets through to the practice squad 99 out of 100 times. Tipton's getting claimed. He's just made way too many plays. It's way too loud. I like the way that he responded to a little bit of, adversity, took the blame for the interception, came back, makes huge plays down the stretch. I really, really like the way that he's playing. He played like this last year in training camp too, and then got hurt. And, the last staff just didn't really, I don't know. There was always just difficulties, I think, for young players to get opportunities to make their mark. I mean, that's a stark difference, I think, between these guys and them. I don't think that you see Danny Stutzman wearing the green dot in the first preseason game, with the previous staff. And these guys do. It's a college staff kind of, especially on defense. A lot of development, a lot of guys that have, just taught guys and brought them up, and they kind of trust what they're seeing. And, I think especially early on, there's not a fear of, going to younger, unproven guys because, your job's not on the line and you don't feel like, well, if I go to this young guy and he makes a mistake, he's going to get me fired. You can absorb some of that early on. I said that to say that, I think Tipton's going to get real opportunities, and I don't know that he got a ton of them last year, even with all the injuries. And it seems like, I think he's got to be on the team. And, I mean, I know you got 3 other guys that have 4.4 speed. There's another one. You put Bayless Jones in there at running back. It could be a track meet out there. There are probably times, there's going to probably be some exciting play. He had one against the Rams, ran a little shallow cross, cuts it up the field, had a 60-yard touchdown, and it was a real play. Nobody was in range to hit him. So I like the home run hitting ability. I like the fact that they got 2, 3, 4 guys that could probably turn a check down into a touchdown. I like him. I think he has to be on the team.
Nick, so much conversation has been about the offense. I mean, it's kind of what we've done the first 16 minutes here. But the defense, when you look at the 2 preseason games, I mean, if you put the total yards given up, 248, 337, so only 292 yards per game here in the first 2 games. I mean, I know that Jacksonville and their opening series, the first 2 series with their starters went right down the field. But there's been a lot to I think, about this defense that we're not talking about because we're so worried about the offense of the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, I think they got a chance to probably be better than expected. They got like real depth, I think, the interior defensive line spots. Just traded Colin Saunders for a backup center, which I think is I don't know that I love the center. Like he had a tough time in Jacksonville, but I like, they got to have somebody behind McCoy. He's missed like, I don't even know what it is, like 17 games over the last 4 years or something like that. So that was important. But yeah, I think the defense has a chance to be better than we expected coming into the season. I think day after day they've looked good in camp. I think they're probably not as good as they look in this camp because they're going to, I think there's some inflation going against this offense, obviously, but they seem very organized. They seem very energized. It feels like, the details are all on point. And I think more importantly, man, like there's just like I don't want to like use a corny word here, but like there's like a joy back on that side of the ball with those players that I think was missing the last couple of years. I think there was a lot of frustration with how things were going, especially last year. Some of the staff changes in that, Todd Grantham, like the guys on the D line. Like I've never heard people like speak out about a coach the way those guys talk about him. Which I mean, it's there's like some intensity to the hate like
right.
on that guy. But yeah, I mean, I think these guys like just feel good about what they're doing, and I think that matters. Like I think they're happy to play. There's like a closeness actually too, like with that secondary. That safety group, like they're just always around each other. The corner, like all those guys getting along. I don't know. It just feels like they might get everything out of what they have, like just because of where they're at. And I think they're going to stop the run a lot better too. Like Godshaw is like a real player. Probably one of the guys that I probably feel best about coming out of this camp. The Alante Taylor being out is the only reservation I have. But like I look at how they're using like Ugo Amadi in these games, and like I just keep like imagining like if that's Alante out there and you got a little bit more speed and a little bit more strength and a little bit more explosiveness, like this last game, like Ugo was like all over the place, and you just put Alante in there, and I think there's going to be a lot of plays made there too. So yeah, I think that I think out of everything, like I feel way more encouraged about that side of the ball, and I think they're a legitimate spot for optimism. And like on top of all that, it feels like they got a real player off the street the day before camp starts, and Julian Blackman. Like he's made a ton of plays. He seems to fit really, really well. Yeah. So yeah, it feels like there's a little bit of if you're looking at both sides of the ball, it feels like there's a little bit more of a foundation on defense right now, and I'm definitely encouraged by them. And yeah, I'm optimistic about it. I think, within the parameters of, their talent level, but I feel good about like what they're building over there.
And I think when we look at training camp up to this point for the Saints, it's easy to get kind of lost in the quarterback battle, easy to get lost in like talking about different personnel. But I feel like one question we don't hear a lot or hear talked about is like, what about the job that Kellen Moore is doing as a brand new head coach? First time being, I'm sure there's learning curves, there's mistakes made, there's things that he is doing for the first time, but like, can you grade or rank like what the job that he's done up to this point, as far as like, with the battles and the rotations and managing schedules and managing like inter squad practices, things like that? What would you rank his job up to this point?
It's a good question, because I think especially like at quarterback, and then with the personalities involved and all that, and you have to remember like everything Rattler's been through in his journey to get here, and how things happen with like Caleb Williams. Like he's someone that could probably very easily, and I don't want to be unfair projecting like thoughts and emotions onto somebody, but he's probably somebody that could very easily feel scorned. There's probably some PTSD residual stuff, like how different things have played out in his career. And I don't think anybody could look at this. Again, there's like two or three little, like we spent 15 minutes dissecting it, and it comes down to like two or three little things within it. I don't think that anyone could really say that this battle hasn't been handled with some degree of fairness. And you can't really sit back and be like angry about things. And I think that's a tough situation to manage. And I think he's done a really good job with it. It's two young guys at the beginning of their careers who probably feel like the weight of the world is on the outcome of this. I mean, I bet, if you're a quarterback in that battle and you feel like you lose this battle, there's probably an element of like, you feel like, am I ever going to get a chance again? And all. So like, I think he's done a good job of mitigating a lot of like jealousy and all that stuff like that. You don't see it. you don't hear it either. And I've covered the league long enough that, like, you hear things like, when things aren't going well and there's anger and there's jealousy and all that stuff, like, it usually makes its way over here. Like, I haven't heard anything yet. So I think that he's managed that well. I think the veteran players, like, he's done a great job of getting them to buy in. All I can do is compare two situations, and it's crazy to say this because, like, DA had been around forever, and it seemed like he should have been their guy. The way people talk about Kellen Moore is vastly different than how they were talking about DA through the first month of his tenure. And we haven't seen any fireworks at all anywhere. Last time it was, 10 days into it. And granted, it's a tough personality, but, like, you have, like, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson starting all kinds of stuff, like him not getting along with it. You go through some of the interviews from those very first OTA, and you got people asking players, hey, like, what do you think about DA getting this job? And it's, like, very lukewarm, or, like, even some like, yeah, I'm not going to comment on that. And, like, I don't know if that was like a Sean Payton thing, don't want to take sides against somebody, but it was definitely weird. Like, there is not weirdness right now, which, having gone through this just a couple of years ago, I think that's a very good sign on, the buy-in, the culture, all that stuff. Now, I've only covered Parcells type coaches, Bill Belichick, Sean Payton, DAs from that branch. The way they handle practice and the time aspect of it is very, very jarring. Like, there's a major element of, like, culture shock. Like, they've had 2 practices that went over 90 minutes. They take every third day off. Like, that's definitely different to me. I don't know what the impact of that is. I'm guessing, as I ask around, it sounds like that's how the Eagles and the Rams and, some of these younger, younger organizations with younger coaches, I think they just probably think about time efficiency differently. And, we'll see what the outcome of that is and if it adjusts at all in year 2 or whatever. But, I mean, the buy-in is significantly different, I think, than what it was when DA took over.